Welcome to Conversations with Haych, and we have a superb, amazing, incredible guest with us today. She is an excellent Ghanaian-born, German-raised. Let's make sure we get that right. Entrepreneur, where she's a co-founder of CurlCon, the largest and leading Afro hair, beauty, and lifestyle platform fair in Germany, as well as Stylendi and Curl Agency. She is also a podcast host for Young, Broke and Sharp. She is a brand consultant, event producer, strategist, and a model who's been featured on Vogue. You know, she was doing this one with the Vitae. You saw it. We all saw it. She's also been featured in Bloomberg, Business Insider, Vice, and more. She's a traveler, whether that's the UK, Ghana, or anywhere else in the world. I remember speaking to her in 2016 about her passion for Black people in Germany and better representation. And now she's doing an excellent job in empowering not only the people of a current stage, but people in the future. She is an amazing, amazing woman. I introduce to you Nana Addison. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. That was a very big introduction. I hope I can fill that space.
Just be you. Just be you. Just be the Nana that I know and love. Just be that, and you'll be okay. You'll be all right.
Okay, I'll try to be that.
But for those,
no, thanks for having me.
Nah, I really appreciate you coming on. I feel like I don't even know too much in depth of your story, which is what we're going to tap into a little bit more. But I know what you were trying to do back in 2016, and now with where you're at, is just massive. But for those who don't know who you are, who is Nana?
Well, I'm a Ghanaian, a German. Currently, I like to say I'm a Ghanaian with a German passport who pays taxes in Germany, because things are not really moving correctly when we look at the government. But that's another topic. I mean, I'm a Ghanaian young woman now. I'm 32 years old or young, and I'm an entrepreneur. I have a business in Germany, which is an agency that does brand consultancy. And then I own, as you said, CurlCon, which is the biggest hair, beauty, and lifestyle fair in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. So all the German-speaking countries, actually.
You go, girl.
We cover all of them, yeah. And I don't know, like my journey, I don't even know where to start. I would say my journey started when in school, when I realized that, honestly, I would not be successful with the when it comes to the, how you say it, general path of school, uni, and career.
The typical,
The typical path, because I am dyslexic. So early on, I realized, okay, I will have challenges going with the regular system, because it doesn't really serve the way my brain works, and it will always show up as a red mark or error when it isn't really an error like that. Yeah, so I was always looking for like alternative ways, and I was always very fascinated with entrepreneurs. I don't know why, but they always had an appeal to me. Like, shameful confession, I was like really much a fan of Trump at the time, because I don't know, he was like he was like a very famous entrepreneur at the time. I didn't know he was lying about everything. And at the time, I didn't know what a narcissist was. Now I know. But at the time, I was like, yes, like being an entrepreneur, that's the thing. Then I can be my own boss, and I can have my own company. And I was always very, very, like, I don't know, fascinated by that. And I also think I had a little challenge with rules, like stagnation. Because I was always looking to improve things. And I always found myself being, being not punished, but some kind of way punished for that. So let's say I see something could work more efficient if we do that change, but that's not my place, or that's not my job title or something. Then people would say, like, you know what, calm down, stay in your place, and so on. And that would frustrate me so much. So I think all of these things contributed to my desire to to have my own business. And then as I was growing older, especially like late teens, like 16 to 20, I think legacy became also a big factor for me. And I can't tell you why it was that young, I don't know, but I think it became a big factor because I started dating maybe, and I grew up without my dad. So I was just looking at like family constellations. And then I was observing that like, especially like Afro-diasporan families in the German-speaking spaces, a lot of them were struggling financially, and that trickled down to a lot of other issues. And I thought like, okay, what I really don't want is that my family, my kids, and everyone who's coming after me will ever have to hear like, no, you can't afford this. Because that to me was the most excruciating answer that I could hear. My mom said, oh, we can't afford this. And I hated that. And so I think that was also a factor that contributed to kind of like my motivation. And then all of this combined was like, okay, how can I, not suffocate on like authority that isn't innovative or not forward thinking? And how can I be in a space or create a space where even the small people's voices matter if the contribution is useful? You know? And then how can I create like financial freedom for my family and my future kids? And all of this, like, all said entrepreneurship. So it was like, okay, I knew, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. I just don't know how and in what space. That's kind of how it was. And then I would say from 18 onwards, it was just the journey about figuring out how entrepreneurship works. And what I can do, what my lane is. And it has been a interesting, bumpy ride, my friend.
We're gonna get into the ride, and we're gonna get into the journey. But I want to go back a little bit. In terms of you being born in Ghana, do you remember how long? Well, let's start with this. How long were you in Ghana before you then moved to Germany?
I was born in Kumasi, which is like the Ashanti region in Ghana, so it's the west. Ashanti is like one of the biggest tribes in Ghana as well. And I was born there, and I came to Germany when I was 3 becoming 4. My dad already studied in Germany. And he had a German citizenship already. So although I was born in Ghana, I automatically had the German citizenship. And that made it fairly easy for my mom to come and stuff like that. So they moved us from Ghana to Germany. The thing that I remember was the sheer horror at the airport. That I feel like I don't know, it's sunk into my DNA. I don't know. Yeah.
What do you mean in terms of that though? Was it? Talk us through.
So when we arrived at the airport, I got out of the airport, and there was all white people, right? And then they came, because I'm a child, like I was in a stroller. They came and they were like, oh, I don't know what they were saying, sweet Negro baby. I don't know what they were saying to me, but I remember they were trying to touch me, and that was the horror.
Wow.
So I remember that horror, and my mom said I was screaming as if someone was trying to like bring fire or something, but I was just screaming like, ah! I was so scared. But I remember that when I arrived, that wasn't a pleasant feeling. I do remember that, because I also remember that I felt very safe and stuff with my grandma, because I was with my grandma in Ghana. So I think like the immigration or whatever for me as a child wasn't necessary, because I liked my space. Maybe if I was a teenager, it would have been different. But I guess I really liked being around my aunties and my grandma and so on. And my mom said she felt like I didn't even notice that she and my dad weren't around, because there were so many other people, like a village that raises a child. So I wasn't even like really cognizant that my parents were out there building something to bring us. I was just living my best life, with my grandma.
Living your best life at 3. I love it. I absolutely love it. Were you ever exposed to people of a different color prior to your moving to Germany, or was it literally just you're surrounded by Black people, and then you've moved to Germany, and now it's like, okay, no one here looks like me?
Yeah, that's exactly how it was for me when I arrived. And then also before I went to kindergarten, because I came with 3, and then kindergarten starts like at 4, 5 something. So even then, when we arrived, I was still in an all Ghanian household, you know. And then there was my aunties and my uncles, the few that lived there, and it was kind of like a very how can I call it, insula? No. Like a capsule, like a small, like a bubble.
Yeah.
So I still didn't fully, like, I wasn't immersed in like a white space.
Yeah.
And so it really happened when I went to kindergarten, is when I really realized, like, okay, the tables have turned, because I'm the only one up in here. Things have changed for the worse.
Do you remember those experiences though, like being at school, being like, I can't even imagine, because growing up in the UK, we're very multicultural. So the schools that I went to, there might have been more of a certain ethnicity. However, it was rarely ever white. It was more so either Asian or black, and that would be the majority in school. So, but for yourself being in Germany, I can't even imagine what that would have been like. So, do you remember those experiences?
Yeah, it was like I was a circus attraction. Like, the kids wanted to like touch me, some wanted to like lick my face, because they've never like chocolate, you know what I mean? They never like had black people in around them. And I always say, like, children are just the reflection of the parents. So if the parents are not like adamant about exposing the kids to all kinds of varieties of human beings, the kids will respond in the same way. So they literally, the way I saw them as something new is the same way they saw me as something new.
Yeah.
So what appears to be quite innocent then becomes like very daunting, because it doesn't stop. That I think that was the problem. So the discovery of the African girl, the black girl, it didn't stop. And I think that is what was weighing on me after a couple of years, because I think if a child comes to me and it's like, oh my God, there's a black person, I have never seen them before, I look at their parents, I don't look at the child. I'm like, yo, can you just give them a different children's book or something, you know? But I don't have those experiences on the train where they're like, oh my God, what is this? But but if I meet like an adult and it's still the same response, that to me is like, that's kind of a problem to me. So in school, it was quite cruel. First they were like, first the kids were curious, and then they were bullying me. So first it was like the natural kitty curiosity, and then there's a hierarchy that happens. And they realize, oh, okay, like around them they're the majority, or I don't know what happens in the brain of a teenager, but I think everyone subconsciously is learning something from the environment, even if no one is speaking. Just by observation, they know that, oh, okay, around me, around my parents, or in society, or in the news, apparently these people are lesser than me, you know what I mean? And that's how they were treating me. So I got sand thrown into my hair, they pulled out my braids, I got beaten up like bad in school. It was pretty bad. I think my older sister had it a bit worse. My mom sent her to like this Catholic school, and that school was like all white. And my sister got beaten up so much that my mom decided to put me in like a public type of school where there's like more immigrants, in hopes that it will be a bit more balanced. But still, even, you know, I don't know if you know, but even among immigrants, sometimes there's this hierarchy going on, right?
You still had that experience, even though you weren't at the same school as your sister.
So the Turkish kids were beating me just the same as the white German kids were beating me up, you know? And there was one class, and we literally called it the foreigners class, because all the kids who were like of immigrant context were in the same class.
Really?
Yeah, so it was like first grade, and there was like A, B, C. So first grade, 1A, 1B, 1C, 20 kids in each class. And then the A class was always the one where all the foreigners were in. It was very interesting looking back.
So when you think about it and look back, do you feel like other people's opinions or how they treated you, especially from school moving further on into high school and stuff, do you feel like how they treated you and their opinions of you shaped who you were at that time?
I wouldn't say it shaped who I am, but it definitely ignited early on who I wanted to become. Definitely. So it was definitely the treatment as if I was less or worth less or, you know, matter less or something that definitely invigorated a lot of like anger, but there also was a lot of energy for me to become like trying to become powerful, because I felt so powerless, you know?
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I wanted to I don't know. It wasn't about feeling popular. It was more, I never cared about being popular. I cared about like being respected, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because because I think in my teenage years, Blackness was already popular because there was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and stuff, right? But it wasn't respected. It was popular in a humoristic, entertaining type of way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it wasn't like respected. No one is like taking you seriously like that. So I think that was what the experience cost me. I felt like, okay, I want to be as influential, as powerful as I can be, and then show them how powerful we can be. I don't know. I definitely had like a bit of a power obsession or something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
No, that makes sense, because when I look at even shows like Fresh Prince in, you know, where English isn't the first language, even where English is the first language in these countries, everyone looked at Will as like the main character. Yeah, we love Will, and he was the jokey one. He was the one that was getting into trouble. He was the one who was just humorous. But when you look at the likes of, say, like Carlton or someone like that, who was the smart one, who was getting the straight A's, everyone would look at him as, you know, as less than
aspirational for some reason.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and what then happens is when those kind of, unfortunately, when those kind of stereotypes are pushed into non-Black households, sometimes it's like, oh, when I see a Black person, I expect them to make me laugh, or I expect them to sing, or I expect them to rap, or I expect them to do this because this is what Will does, or this is what this character in this show does. So I can only imagine with you being in Germany, moving from Ghana to Germany, and that being people's reference for Black people, they just look at you like,
dance for me.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we came here for the vibes. You know what I mean? Definitely.
If you could encourage though your younger self, what would you say with everything that you know now?
Everything that I know now, I would say like you actually are very significant, and God has made you very like intricate and complex and stuff, and I would say you are yet to find out how useful that is, that it's actually not in your way. It's just right now you're young and it feels like an overload, but all these nuances that you notice that seem irrelevant will become very useful and important and will help people. I think I would tell myself to cut myself some slack. I think that's what I would say, because I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to be perfect. Yes.
But what was perfection to you at that time?
Perfection was outside of like, because I had dyslexia, so there's nothing I could do about that, about spelling. But anything else, everything had to be excellent. I don't know if I was OCD or because I was so obsessed with it, I developed being OCD. Yeah. I don't know which one is which, but really like everything I never wanted to be late. Everything had to be in order. I wanted just to be ahead of the curve always. Never behind. I really didn't care about having friends, which is something that like now in my adult life I'm kind of catching up to a little bit, you know. So I had a tough time like making, how you say it, these like natural friendships, because I didn't know how, because I was so busy with my little
trying to be
world plan, you know. And like my sister, do you know Pinky and Brain? Pinky and the Brain. Yeah, my sister said I was like the brain. I was always like in my room, like in a laboratory, just in trying to figure out how to do this thing. And my sister was just, like, I'm not saying she was pinky, like she wasn't like silly, dumb, but she was just like out there enjoying her life, blah, blah. And I was always in my room like, I would always tell her like, why are you going out with your friends? Like, this is a waste of time, I would tell her that. Yeah, I would feel, and then she would come home. She has an argument with her girlfriend. I remember she has an argument with her girlfriend. I'll be like, you see, friendship is useless. Like they betray you. Just focus on like your career. Oh man, it was about low-key. I was also jealous because my sister was my only friend.
Oh god.
So I just wanted her to hang out with me because I didn't know how to make friends. So she was so popular, and I was like, I don't know, I don't want to share you. That in itself was an interesting dynamic with me and my sister.
So how did that work with you guys? Because I'm guessing your sister was in Ghana with you as well. So I'm guessing.
No, my sister was actually born in Germany. Yeah, I know. It was a jet set situation. I don't know how my parents did that.
So how did that dynamic work with both of you going to two different schools, with her being older than you, her being quite opposite to you in terms of being the one who, has the friends, goes out, does this and this, and you being, how did that dynamic really work?
It was, I think it was challenging for my sister because she wanted to develop like her own identity or something. And I was very like, as a younger sister, I was very clingy to her. And then I was also quite like overprotective, although I was the younger one. Because I felt I can see the dangers of this world and how evil this world is. And I felt my sister, somehow she can't see that. She needs protection. I don't know. So the dynamic was kind of funny because I became like the older sister to my older sister. And whenever something happened, I would come and beat up girls. I would go and fight for my sister and be like, Lima, I would beat up girls because my sister, somehow she would always find herself in friendships that would like
not work out.
Don't work. Then I would come and fight with people. So that was kind of the dynamic. So on the one hand, it was always like, oh, Nana, you're annoying my annoying little sister. But on the other hand, if something went wrong,
I know I can call on you.
She'd always come to me. I'm gonna come and I'm gonna, mess up the place. Don't mess with my sister. And I was also always a really good secret. Like I could hold all the secrets because I wasn't going out nowhere. She would always tell me all the secret. I would listen to it and I would be excited for her.
Yeah.
But she would know it's not going anywhere. Like I'm a treasure.
My days. So you then kind of grow up and you go to university for what you describe to be 4 horrific semesters.
It was
of business management and theology. What was so bad about that university experience? And did that give you an extra push that whatever you're going to do after you had to go 100% at it?
Yeah. What was bad about it is that during school, I was already working. Like when in Germany, you're allowed to start working from the age of 14.
Oh, yeah.
For like limited hours. And then from 16, you can do like a part-time job. So I was always working besides school because I wanted to have money, my own money.
Yeah.
And then I think when I turned 18 or 19, I started like modeling here and there, and I was exposed to. So I lived in a smaller city, and then when I started modeling, I was going to Berlin, to the capital. So it's I don't know, you live I don't know where, but then you're going to London. You were in Manchester, but now you're going to London, maybe something like that. Yeah, and so when I was exposed to Berlin, I was like, oh wow, okay, there's so much going on here. And so I wanted to explore that more. So I did more modeling, and then I discovered this thing called freelancing, which I didn't know what it was at the time. I discovered this thing called freelancing. And as I was like modeling, which was at the time mostly for Adidas.
Yeah.
There were these like showroom buyers meetings where the buyers of different department stores, they go to the showroom and then they do their selections.
Yeah.
And this is like a sales thing. But at the time, the the guy who was running the showroom asked me to come in to model the clothes here and there when the buyers are coming. And so as I was modeling the clothes, they were having their conversations, and and for me, remember, these are like two white guys talking about like youth fashion and stuff like that they haven't, from my perspective, no clue what's going on culturally. So they were having the conversations thinking about like, okay, do you think they will buy this more? They will buy this more, right? And as I was listening, to me, like you are getting it all wrong. And so at some point I couldn't contain myself. And I just,
here goes Dada. Here goes Dada.
Oh my gosh. But I was like, okay, yeah, I think you got it wrong. So young people care about this and this and that, and they will wear this and this and that, and you have to market it in this and this and that way. And I was talking like, and at the time, like influencer or micro-influencer didn't exist. But I knew that the people who people imitate are the DJs in the club at the moment, at the time. So I was like, you need to give these clothes to the DJs, and you need to put like Adidas on their turntables or something. You have to bring it into the scene, right? And as I was speaking, they were like, oh, she knows something. And then they hired me to just be a sales assistant consultant. I don't know if they created the job or
they definitely created the job. Definitely.
But then I would be there every Friday, just like having the conversation with the sales guy, with the other people. I'm sure I was underpaid. But I definitely increased the orders of the retailing buyers, because now they felt much more confident because someone from the youth was there telling them, another old white dude. How it works. So that's how I like got into freelancing. And this was a long loop, but so because I was already working when I finished my A-levels, I instantly went into freelancing. I didn't go to uni first. I just freelanced, and because I promised my mother, as every other African child does, that I'm going to become a doctor.
Oh gosh.
I tried that first. So I did an apprenticeship to be a surgeon assistant nurse.
Oh wow.
And I did that because I said, if I study medicine, I want to become a surgeon. Everything else is boring. I want like action and stuff. So I thought, okay, let me do this. And as I was doing that, I realized I don't ever want to be in medicine. And now I only had to figure out how to tell my mother. Right? So in that process, let me lay it down for you so that everyone knows how I tricked my mom, but don't do it, okay? I did it. So that's how I did it. I discovered there's Berlin City, and Berlin City has all these opportunities, which is also freelancing, which I really liked, right? And then there was my mom, who expected me to be in medicine. And then there was an apprenticeship. So I said, okay, let me apply for a medical apprenticeship in Berlin. Then I can move with my mom's blessings.
Because she thinks I'm under.
Right. Then I will try this out, because maybe I do like it, but I doubt it. But if I don't, I'm already in Berlin and I can do the freelancing thing. That's exactly what I did. And then I quit the apprenticeship. I didn't tell my mother. I waited a couple of months. Did a couple months. Absolutely. I had to prep. It's not because of the anger. It's like the look of disappointment.
All of that.
Yeah. She feels that your parents will feel like your life is over. You're literally heading to homelessness. So I was prepping myself for that disappointment. And doing more freelancing gigs. So this means that I was kind of entrepreneur already. I had to figure out how to sell myself. I had to learn how to network, make connections so that I can get the gigs. I had to figure out what the market needs so that I can kind of find my niche and stuff. And so I was doing a lot of like business administrative things. I just didn't know the words of it. So when I told my mom said she wants me to study I shall study something. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna study business. And in the process of these 2 years in Berlin, I became a Christian as well. And so I said, okay, I want to study business and I want to study more of the Bible. And so I thought, okay,
that mix right there is wild.
That's why I thought, like, let me study business and theology. And I was researching the Bachelor of Theology in Germany,
Yeah.
and the job opportunities. And I realized, oh, okay, so a theologian is also the person who helps the government decide where to put schools and kindergartens and stuff like that. I didn't know how much like theology is involved in like how you say, a community infrastructure, although it makes so much sense if you think about it. But that also made me more curious, because then I thought, okay, theology is still kind of a study of cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I found that quite interesting. And so so I studied these two. Business development was horrible. The reason for it was, one, everyone in my uni was studying. They were like very typical business people. Coat shoes, Polo Ralph Lauren.
Okay.
Just like the hair, like
you know.
I didn't feel like I really belonged there.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I was very cognizant of internet culture. I had a Tumblr, a MySpace. I was like very early on into the internet life.
Yeah.
Maybe also because I was such a loner, so internet was, my community.
I hear it.
And my curriculum did not include online marketing. So when I saw that, I was like, how is that supposed to work? Yeah. So I was my first semester, my second one, and in the classes, the stuff that I learned was only terminology, because nothing of the system, the structures, or the knowledge that they were teaching was new to me, because I was practicing it already. Yeah, I just didn't know I was. Yeah, so I after 4 semesters I quit, because to me it was an entire waste of time. Theology, on the other hand, that was great. I learned some Hebrew, I learned some Greek, I learned a lot of like history, church history. Yeah. And it really helped me, from my perspective at least, understand scripture so much more. Like from I would say from the metaphorical perspective, but also from the factual one. Like I felt like some verses became much stronger and deeper to me when I understood what the symbol of the holiest of holiest actually means. You know what I mean? Once I understood that more, it resonated even deeper with me, you know? Or when I understood the real translation of the Hebrew term of forgiveness, right? Forgiveness means absorbing or nullifying or neutralizing, you know? So if I realize, okay, forgiveness doesn't mean I need an apology, it means that I go ahead and neutralize your wrongdoing. It hasn't been, you don't have to be involved in that. This is a process that I'm doing with myself, like literally, dying to myself. I was like, that's something different. Yeah, so it definitely strengthened my faith, contrary to popular belief, because a lot of the young people who were studying theology, who came from specifically Pentecostal churches, they were all scared that they're going to lose their faith somehow. For me, it was the opposite way.
So in studying and strengthening your faith, when did it get to a point where you realized I need to be doing entrepreneurship and that's my lane? Because you said you didn't like the business management or the business development course, part of the course, but you like the theology. So then that's kind of like, okay, you didn't go down the theologian route, you still went down the business route, even though you didn't like the course. So how did you then navigate into then that space of entrepreneurship then from that point?
That's a really good question. I think it was I think I like the idea of sowing seeds and multiplying something. I like the idea of I just like the thought of there's nothing and then I do something and then it grows and it becomes something. I don't know. I always found that fascinating. Like maybe the creation story. I don't know. Maybe there's the creator, you know? And I did start in church actually. Which is funny because I did this, what I'm doing now in my business thing, I did the same thing in church. So I feel I practice everything I'm doing in the world in church. Yeah. Because I became a Christian. So I went to Ghana. I was 23 to meet my dad, with whom I didn't have a relationship. And before he went to Ghana, he was an atheist or agnostic or something. So when I then went to Ghana to meet him, he was a Christian, and he was very much a changed person.
Yeah.
My father was very critical, super science, super all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Making a lot of fun of my mom, who is like a very like Pentecostal church mom, you know?
Yeah.
And so I feel like I became kind of similar to my dad. But then when I went to Ghana, I got surprised because my dad was a Christian and he had like all these new perspectives and stuff that he was sharing.
Yeah.
And I think the disconnect between me and my dad was a reflection of my disconnect between me and God. Like,
wow,
connected to my father, so I was disconnected to my father.
Yeah.
So when that relationship reconciled, instantly God made sense to me all of a sudden. I don't know.
Wow.
So it was like a double healing, and I'm grateful for that. Every time I come down, I'm like, wow, in this place I found God and I found my dad. It's so amazing.
Wow.
I became a Christian, and so when I went back, you know how newly Christians are. We are zealous. I was super zealous. I was so zealous. So the first thing I did, I found my home church. I went to church every Sunday. Went to Bible study on Wednesday, prayer all night on Friday. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Right? The Bible in a year plan on you version and everything that comes with it. What I did.
Yeah.
And so my pastor in the church, he noticed like that I was so zealous, but he also noticed that the youth was very like drawn to me. There was like a magnetism, a natural magnetism from the youth in the church, because they always came, they were like, they like my outfit, my hair, whatever, what I represent to them. And so my pastor at the time noticed that before I noticed it. I was influential for them.
Yeah.
So he kind of kept me around. And then at some point, during church Bible study, that was a moment that I remember. I used to sit like in a corner opposite of him.
Yeah.
And then that one time, the seat right beside him was the only seat that was available. Every other seat was taken.
Yeah.
So I sat beside my pastor, and as he was teaching, he had moments where he couldn't find the word that he wanted to use. And I had the word in my head. As he was going like, I said a word. He said, yeah, exactly. And then he continued. And then he had that again, and he had that a couple of times. So after that Bible study was done, he called me before I went home. And then he said, on Sunday, you're going to translate. Because my pastor was American.
Yeah.
So he was speaking English. He said, on Sunday, you're going to translate into German. And so I started being his translator. And it was so seamless. I was shocked. Like, it was so seamless. That it flew out of me. It was so easy for me.
Had you translated before, or was this like the first time? Like on that kind of
first time.
Wow.
I never done that before. Never, like, I didn't know that I had like a language gift or anything like that. That's why I know it was the Holy Spirit. And so I was doing the translation, which like really helped me get like understand like tonality and speaking and all these things that you need in sales. Sorry, but I learned that in the church, honestly. And then because now I was on stage, there was like even more focus from the youth. So I think after like 6 months or something, my pastor asked me if I want to do youth Bible study. He feels like I should try it. And then I became the youth leader of my church. So with the youth was like my little business. My little startup, as stupid as it sounds.
Nah,
but
not at
they
all.
were like my tiny little startup, because I think they were like 10 or something. And they were very much bored in church, and they wasn't as excited as I was about the Lord. So I was thinking about ways to make them excited. I was thinking about ways to, bring the word to them in interesting ways. How can we involve them? So I concepted a lot of stuff. I was like, okay, we need a youth Sunday. We need a youth choir. They need to have their own youth practice. They need to have this. They need to have different things that are more, that fit them more. They also need like after school programs where people help them with school stuff, because we can't say they're coming to church and nobody's helping them with school, because they were all around the age group where they're doing the A-levels. Yeah. Right. So all of this, like, I added. And then at some point, the church board was saying, okay, this youth stuff is getting out of hand and it's costing too much money.
Mm.
And so I said, okay, I have to figure out how to make money for this youth. So I said, okay, on Youth Sunday, the youth's going to sell overpriced waffles.
You say overpriced?
Overpriced, because no one in real life will pay like £5 for a waffle. But you love the youth, don't you?
So, yeah.
So you will, right?
Yeah.
And so they were selling waffles, and we were making really a lot of money. And with that, I financed the youth going on trips, them going to youth camps and meeting with other youth in different churches, so I was doing like branches,
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to call it, but I was literally practicing anything. I was practicing network marketing, I feel, with that. And then I did this conference called Return Conference. And that was a huge youth convention where I practice event production, live music production, speaker inquiries, booking, all of that I was practicing there, and also like budgeting and funding and stuff. I did a funding round in the church to get 20K to make this production out of nowhere. Like, I'm sure my church was thinking, this girl is crazy. Like, she came from nowhere, now she wants 20K from us. Like, what the hell's going on? But I had a vision. And it worked out. We got the 20K, and then we got Jonathan McReynolds, we got Esso, and they were all not like big at the time. It was it was right when Jonathan landed. I remember in Berlin is when he got nominated for the first Dove Award.
Yeah.
When he landed in Berlin. And this catapulted, like, from my perspective, they came and then they left, and then all of them went and quite big. Yeah, so that was like, these were my boot camp for entrepreneurship.
You know what?
Because after that, that's what I did. I did a lot of event management, a lot of event production outside of church.
You know what's amazing as well about just your story up to this point, and even what we're about to talk about in terms of, founder of you being these two companies, you were always in a place where you were needed. Like, you were always able to be in a place where you were needed, but then also able to do the right thing with the right amount of zeal, with the right amount of energy, with the right amount of focus, with the right amount of, when you had a particular thing on your mind, you were going to do that in that particular place, whether that was someone troubling your sister and you wanted to beat them up. So you was in the right place where you was needed, and you weren't going to let anyone trouble her, or whether that where you were in church and the youth needed someone, you were in the right place, and then you used what you knew and you learned on the job to then be the person that they needed at the time. Moving forward into these two companies, well, you're a founder of two companies as well as the CurlCon convention. So you're also now in a place where people that look like you, that look like me, need you. Yeah. And it just seems to be that theme of you just being in the right place at the right time for the people that need you the most. How did you feel about starting something like that? Because I can imagine there's a lot of, what's the right word? Backlash, restrictions in what you were trying to start. And when did you realize you were on the right path?
Your questions are great. Honestly, you have really good questions, I must say. I think I think there's like two answers to it. Like, one is I actually didn't know that I was at the right place at the right time, because I usually had so much resistance that I felt like I always felt like I'm pushing the envelope. So and I think this came because I was immature. I was a powerful youth leader, but I was very immature because I was a newly convent.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I just converted, and instantly I had like this, I don't know, this leadership position.
Yeah.
So although I had a lot of knowledge, I didn't have wisdom or maturity.
Or the experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just because I see something or I can analyze something, it doesn't mean that I understand tone, tact, timing, all of that didn't exist.
Yeah.
So I offended a lot of people. So they were like, so I think people were rightfully offended a lot of times by me looking back, because I didn't know my place in inverted commas.
Yeah.
And there's a way to bring things to people. But
Yeah.
I just came like, this needs to change now. If you're not going to do it, I will find a way by myself.
Yeah.
That's what I always did. And I found a way.
Yeah.
But it always ended up with me having like a breakdown because I was so exhausted in the end. It used, like, how you say it, going like swimming against the stream.
Yeah.
Costs a lot of energy. And sometimes there are people who actually are on your side, but you feel like everybody is not getting you.
Wow.
So you just do it on your own and use so much of your strength. And that's really not how it needs to be. So I just wanted to say that. Yeah. I wanted to make sure I say that for it to not sound super romantic, because I was like a very immature, ambitious person. And sometimes ambition is also like misplaced ambition is also not useful, you know? Yeah, so I was ambitious but immature, I would say that. But yeah, so coming to your question, I think with knowing when I was on the right path, I feel the only indicator I had about being on the right path was having energy. Like, where I feel like whenever I was like on the right path, I would not get tired. Because I would be very like, it would consume me, solving this issue or solving that issue, or understanding this thing. It would consume me so much that I would have endless resources of energy until I have it fixed, or until I understand it or it makes sense to me. So that was kind of like my indicator. And then I would also say that it was a lot of like where I was reading scripture in the time, honestly. Because sometimes I was like reading chapters, like for example, there was this time where I was reading on Job, and how Jonah, how he was supposed to go to Nineveh, but he went the whole other directions. So in that theme like consumed me, about like people going into the wrong way and blah 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 blah. And that inspired me to figure out a way to get to help young people understand that they can be young and creative and still be Christians, because I felt like to them it seems like it's like they have to go these ways. Yeah, that's what also inspired me a lot, like a lot in the beginning. And then other than that, honestly, I would say it was injustice. Yeah. Not like I wouldn't call it, because now everyone is woke and we're political, but at that time it wasn't like a political injustice that I noticed, because I wasn't really politicized.
Yeah.
It was more like I just noticed this is unfair. That's it. So I saw something is not fair in my view, and so I wanted it to become fair. So that gave me again energy to work towards making this more fair. Yeah, that's really, I think these were the three things. I would always have energy. I was working towards making something that seemed unfair to me more fair. And there was some kind of a Bible story that was similar to where I was at.
Yeah. Do you feel like, especially starting out, one of the reasons why you were so passionate about it was because of your experience back in school, your experience when you first came to Germany, and how you felt, and on top of that, a lack of representation within your country as well?
Yeah, 1000%. I remember the first time I came to London, Hayden, I thought I'm in the land of milk and honey. I was like, wait a minute. Why were my parents thinking coming to Germany? This is the wrong place. It was the wrong place. That was the wrong decision, Mom and Dad. Because when I went to London, I was like, oh, this is where I was supposed to be living. I remember like it was yesterday. There was like so many black kids, and everyone seemed to like, everyone, at least to me, appeared like free.
Yeah.
Right? Because in Germany, it's this little thing like where people have a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. They try not to draw too much attention to themselves. But from my perspective, I feel like Germans of African descent, or Africans who live in Germany, they work a bit with like a bow, and I never liked that. And in London, I felt like everyone was walking with their chin up, and I loved that. So when I was in London, I was like, yeah, this is where I need to be. And then I realized, like, culturally, the differences, which was also so much fun to discover. For example, Nike Air Max, right? So in Germany at the time in the 90s, it was skinheads who were wearing Nike Air Max. So it would be the racist people. So, you know, if like a white dude is wearing Nike Air Max, you better stay away from that guy. So then I went to London and I saw all these black people wearing Nike Air Max. I was like, wait, there are differences. Then it was the same with Lonsdale London. In Germany, the guys who were wearing Lonsdale London were the ones that I should be running away from. And who were wearing bomber jackets, you know?
Yeah.
And then in London, I was like, wait a minute.
It's everywhere.
Black people are wearing this stuff. How does that work? So a lot of like also culture and lifestyle, because America was like, we couldn't really identify with America because we were in Europe. So London was the closest thing for us. So a lot of the Black youth was very much inspired by UK Black youth. Yeah.
Do you feel like with where you've got CurlCon to at this point, Stylendi at this point, Agency at this point, when you look at what you initially set out to do you feel like it's doing that, or do you feel like it's doing that and more?
And more. I think it's doing that and more. We did like a couple of pivots, which you have to do if when you start a business, you never know really what sticks. You just throw some stuff and see what sticks. And we definitely did a pivot. So CurlCon was the first thing that I did. It was like the initiation and like the disruption in the industry, a very loud like bang that I did there. And then from that came a lot of inquiries for consultancy. And I was already doing brand consultancy, but not like on an agency level. I tried it once and failed, actually. I actually went broke before, right?
What?
Yeah. I'm telling you, I just took a lot of risks, sir.
Let's backtrack. Let's go to that. How does someone who, is it the immaturity again? Is it the what did you say? Is it immaturity, what you had, the passion and ambition, all that, the ambition? Is it the immaturity mixed with the ambition that got you to that point?
Definitely, yeah.
Wow.
Because I wanted to have my own business so bad, right?
Wow.
So I was very quick. I wanted to start a business.
Yeah.
And I was doing brand consultancy, and I didn't understand how taxes work and stuff because I wasn't financially literate. Who taught me? Nobody taught me that, right? So I registered a business, and then I was like sending invoices, making some money. And also in Germany, once you're 18, you can go to overdraft as well. So I was overdrafting in the name of marketing and business development, overdrafting. And thinking I'm doing like I'm investing in my business. And the next thing I knew was I was like 15K in debt, 15,000 in debt. And it surprised me how fast it happened. It really surprised me myself how fast this happened. And there was no way I could make the money back at the time. And it felt like such a weight on me. So I went to a tax lawyer and I asked him what my options were. And then he said, I mean, you are quite young. You can file for bankruptcy in Germany. This will be 6 years, and then you're out of it, and you will have no record and stuff like that. Or you can talk to all your debtors and then pay it off small. But then you don't know when you're gonna be done with this, right? And at the time, I personally, I don't know. Maybe I keep saying maybe it was God. I personally felt like it will not take that long, and I will make a lot of money. So I don't want to have that hovering over me.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? I'll file for private bankruptcy. I just want it gone. And as I'm building and I'm not making much money, I rather live like below my means.
Yeah.
As I'm building, and they're making money, and then you just keep taking money away from me. I don't want that. So I filed for private bankruptcy. And so for 6 years, I couldn't get a credit. I couldn't do overdrafting, nothing, which at the end was the perfect playground for me because I had to learn how to make money before I had money. And that's what made me such a good salesperson, such a witty finance nerd now. I got obsessed with Excel sheets because of that simple factor. And I made CurlCon into CurlCon because I sold the idea without having any budget. So I had an idea of CurlCon and I needed, I think, 60K or something. So I sold the package to brands before I even knew I can produce the thing, but it worked. I'm telling you. And that's because I was literally broke. Yeah. Now I'm laughing, but at the time, I want to make sure you know, at the time, there were tears, there were prayers.
Yeah.
There was blood. Yes, but at the same time, that was my school of life. And yeah, I think that's also the reason why now I would say I'm quite a calm person in the storm. Yeah.
Would you say, and it's going to be weird for me to ask this, but would you say the bankruptcy was one of the best things to happen to you?
I would say yes. Yeah.
Wow.
But only looking back.
Yeah.
Right. When I was in that, all I felt was shame. Because it's attached like money problems and it's attached to so much shame. And the way now money literacy is like a trend thing, young people are into Forex and I don't know, Megan Thee Stallion is teaching financial literacy in partnership with Cash App and stuff like that. It's like, and it's good, but at that time that wasn't the case. So if you don't know, if your parents don't teach you, no one else teaches you. And there were so many, specifically immigrant context kids that were in debt and their parents were in debt anyways themselves. But they also just inherited that lineage of debt. And a lot of them at the time, the debt where it came from was from phone contracts, mobile phone contracts. Yeah, so I wasn't unique. Like I wasn't a unique person with that, but you feel like you are the only one because no one talks about it. So it was like a lot of shame. I remember I only told my my pastor at the time that I'm filing for bankruptcy and that I feel so ashamed because I'm out here teaching the youth and all that stuff, right? And then I told like two of my best friends. I didn't tell my mom and I didn't tell my sister. They literally found out. So crazy. They literally found out in my Vogue article, when they read my Vogue article, because in that article I said I went broke before, and then my sister called me and was like, wait, you went broke before?
Really?
Yes, because I knew if I would tell them, they would be so worried. My mom would instantly want me to move back home. She would say, move back home. Like, it's not safe there. You tried it, you failed, come back. Come back, get a regular job, find a husband. She would just say, come back home. You've been out in the wilderness long enough. Like,
wow. So you didn't even tell them, you didn't even have been, that must, being in that place, especially being so young, that must have been so like lonely, as well as the shame, but the loneliness that you must have felt. That's
definitely. Depression was definitely like a companion, I would say, for me. I was depressed a lot, and I was depressed, and like I'm already a like cerebral person, so I'm a lot in my brain. I was like a little bit of like a loner child, so a lot of these things like contributed to a very like I had a very introspective personality, and sometimes a lot of introspection. At some point, how much deeper can you go? So you just get lost in like new thoughts that are in the depths where it's unnecessary, and that I would say this is a breeding ground for depression as well.
So what drives you now in terms of you've got CurlCon? There's other things that you do away from your businesses.
Yes.
What drives you now, not only how you help yourself, but how you help. And I
Other
keep coming back
people.
to other people, especially those of Black origin in countries like Germany.
Yeah. I think what drives me the most is meeting people in stages of whether it's self-discovery or in that pivotal moment between I can do it and this is impossible for me. When I like meeting people in that stage because I know that stage so well. And so I love hiring people who are who just came out of school, or they're in between school and uni and stuff. I love hiring them because they usually need a little money and they want to work with something that is fun. So Curl Agency and CurlCon, like pop culturally, we are very like popular, and young people and young aspiring professionals, they really want to work with us. We get a lot of like applications, and then in that process, when they work with us, I'm capable to create that space that I didn't have for them to actually discover what they really want to do without this like toxic environment, you know? So when you work for us, you usually do like administrative work in the beginning and maybe some like social media stuff. Like quite easy tasks that anyone can learn on the job. Is really not like, you know, rocket science. But when you work for us, you get an agile training, which you could never afford yourself, right? Because it's part of our onboarding. Then you will learn how to actually write an invoice. You will learn like more life skills. And then you work in a team, and you will learn accountability, because we have like very strong company values, which is accountability and growth and integrity, things that you probably will not learn in a regular job. But at the same time, we do make money, you know? So I feel like whoever does like 3 months or internship with us, they come out very like, from my perspective, they come out mature, like maturer, but also much more clear about who they are and not who they need to become to fit somewhere, you know? Yeah. So like we have this one thing, one thing that we like to do is we try and ideate, right? So we work in like increments, which allows you room to try something like in a safe space. And let it, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, but there's no stress if it doesn't work. Right? So like that, not having that pressure to allow you to experiment a little bit at work, I think is so key. And I wish there was more like that. And yeah, so I think that's what I love the most about my job. And then I also really love being like an employer, because I feel I had really bad bosses. To be honest, like terrorists kind of. And so and my experience was I had 2 mentors. One is Cherise. You know Cherise?
Yes.
Right? She's also from London. Yeah. So Cherise was mentoring me, and from her I learned so, like, I had a woman lead me, a Black woman lead me, and that experience was so precious, again looking back, that I would want to give that to someone else. Like Cherise allowed me to live with her for a while. You know, I could like literally shadow her. She would really like give it to me straight, but also catch me and stuff like that. And I would have like a safe environment to become an adult somehow, you know? And that's atmosphere. I want to make sure I have that in my company. And then I had another mentor, which is Yetunde Shorters, and she's the wife of one of the campaign managers from Obama. And from her, this is where I learned on the job, social media marketing. So I had 2 female Black women like bosses or guide me. And from that I learned like a lot of self-confidence, and you know that I can do stuff and so on. And I wanted to implement that somehow in my company, so that more people can have like a Black woman boss, because it's quite hard in Germany to have.
In all that you do, because you do a lot. Very clearly you do a lot. Where do you find time for your life, for your personal time? Or does it all just mix into one?
Yeah, I think it mixes into one. I think my work, because my work is so closely tied to my own personal journey, it kind of morphs into one, has morphed into one. And yeah, honestly, so my personal time is when I sleep. I like to sleep. This is like my personal time. I love reading. This I would say is my personal time. And then like when I travel, also the loner thing about me, it had never left. So I think this allows me to like have personal space, although I work with a lot of people and I have to interact with a lot of people. I know how to be in my own company.
Your space. Yeah.
And I enjoy my own company because that's what I've been doing, you know.
Yeah.
Jesus. So I think that's also the personal time that I have. I'm now trying more and more to like do more stuff with friends and so on and practice that more. But that's something that I have to do like intentionally, because my default is I'm just by myself and I'm so used to that. That's my default.
When all is said and done and you leave this earth, what impact do you want to have left and how do you want to be remembered?
That's a good question. Impact wise, I hope that I can help more people or support more people in their business endeavors, Black people, whether it's through skill sharing, knowledge, information, or investing. I want to definitely be an investor. And then I think the other legacy maybe is that people felt like when they met me, they left feeling assured or something, you know, feeling assured. Like one time, a girl, so I get emails from a lot of young girls who want to start like beauty businesses and stuff like that, and they are always surprised when I say, yeah, cool, let's schedule 30 minutes. I always try to find 30 minutes somewhere to hear you and give you some input, because that's what I would have needed. And so there was this one girl that was last week, so she had the call and she was so nervous about this call. And as we were talking, I was able to calm her nerves. For her to actually make the most out of the session so that her nerves won't, you know, mess up the time that like her time for 30 minutes. And when she was done with the session, she her feedback, because I asked for feedback, she told me that I'm such an intense person, like talking to me is very intense, but at the same time she feels like she can do anything now. And I think that feeling is what I want to leave them with. I want them to feel like wherever I have it from, that they get like an intense, like a hit, like a electricity hit, or I don't know what they need, what kind of a hit. I can give it to them somehow. But at the same time, that I can speak into their life in a way that isn't that makes them robust. You know, like I want you to be rooted so that the wind, because it will waver, there will be so many storms, but at the same time I don't want you to lose like your sense of like dreaming and stuff. And I feel especially for Black people in Germany, I feel like they think they have to sell one for the other. But there is like a sweet spot if you are willing to learn. So that's what I hope when they meet me, that they see that I am a big dreamer, and you know, I'm weird and stuff, and you can do that, but I'm also very diligent and focused and disciplined in what I do. So both needs to be there somehow. And I hope that when they meet me, I embody that well. So
No, that's great. That's excellent. And from what I've seen of you, and from how you talk, and from what I've seen your work, you are doing that with a lot of people. And it is great to see, from my perspective, in a country where you will feel like very much the outsider, you are giving people a voice, you're giving people heart, passion, that they can pursue whatever they want to do. And I think that's amazing. My last question to you, with where you're at in life right now, what advice would you give to yourself?
Wow, me to myself right now in this time? Oh, wow. Advice. Maybe don't worry too much about tomorrow. Yeah, I think that would be the advice. Yeah, I have a post-it on my I don't have it here, but on my bedside in Germany. And on a post-it, it says, while you sleep, God's still working. And I think that's what I need to tell myself a bit more, because sometimes, I want to make things happen, but I don't have the full control. I can create momentum. There's a lot of things that I can do. Yeah. But the ultimate, is not in my hands. And sometimes I think I still find that quite challenging. So the only space where I know that, where I have like the physical, proof that this world will work with or without me, is when I sleep. Because as I sleep, I don't know anything that's going on. I'm gone. Yeah. I don't even know where I am really, right? Anything could happen. But some way, somehow, everything works. The sun goes up, birds fly, the wind happens, gravity is still there. Everything still happens. And that I want to lean more into that, and knowing that there is the control is not ultimately mine.
Nana, thank you very much. Honestly, this has been amazing conversation. You've definitely dropped some gems in here that I know people are going to take to. So I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Nah, it was excellent.
Again, thank you so much for thinking of me and having me.
Nah, definitely, I had to. I didn't know how it was going to work. I didn't know if it was going to be Germany, Ghana, in the UK. I don't know how we was going to do it, but I made sure we did it. And to you guys watching at home, thank you guys for watching Conversation with Haych with the amazing Nana Addison,